guys, welcome back here to today's episode of Advanced Bass Fishing. Appreciate you guys hanging with me a little bit and checking the video out. And guys, today we're going to be talking about topwaters, and specifically I want to talk about when topwaters first start working in the early spring. It seems like there's a window, a lot of it has to do with water temperature and time of year, but what's the earliest you can catch them on it? So I really want to get into today's video when topwater fishing starts to get really good based upon the exact set of conditions and water temperature. Definitely think it's going to add up to some good fish for you guys. And also, guys, we'll be talking about a couple of my favorite topwaters today. And one of my favorites, I don't know if you tried it, is this Megabass Giant Dog X. Guys, this is a sort of a finesse walking topwater. I have caught so many bass on this over the past 20 years. It's one of the first hard baits Megabass ever had out. So I'll put the Giant Dog X link in the description of this video, along with several other of my favorite topwaters. If you guys would like to use my Tackle Warehouse link to pick up some of my favorite topwaters, that's much appreciated. And also, guys, real quick, anybody interested in booking a private on the water lesson with me, all you got to do is go to my Facebook page, Intuitive Angling with Randy Blaukat, shoot me a message. I do most of my lessons here in Missouri on Table Rock and Stockton Lake, and we cover about any technique you want to learn about. So look forward to hearing from you guys on that. So really appreciate it. Okay, topwater fishing is a great way to catch quality fish. In fact, I would rate it probably in the top 3 techniques as far as to consistently catch, better than average fish. I'm not talking about big ones, but when you talk about different lure categories like jigs, Texas rig worms, crankbaits, spinner baits, anything like that, I got to put topwaters definitely in the top 5, probably higher than that as far as its ability to catch quality fish. There's something about it based upon, the size of the topwater and the time of the year, it really appeals to those quality bass. So one of the things about it is like, when do you start fishing topwaters? Like, when is it too early, or when is something you don't want to spend much time on? So let's get into that a little bit, because there's several different lure categories in topwaters that work at different times of the year. Okay, now let me talk a little bit about the topwaters that start working the best early. The first topwater that starts working the best is a buzzbait. They will hit a buzzbait before they hit any other topwater out there, because you can work a buzzbait really slow, and there's something about the noise and the profile those colder water bass just like. I've caught a lot of bass on a buzzer, a lot of big bass on buzzers when the water temperature's in the 50s. I can't say that about any other topwater. I don't think there's another topwater that I fish that I have probably ever caught many fish on if the water temperature is below 60 degrees, but a buzzbait is one of those. So buzzbait is a really good bait to throw, especially if that water temperature is between, like, say 55 to 60 degrees, in that range. Now, once the water temperature starts getting above 60 degrees, sort of in that 60 to 70 degree range, that's when some other type of baits work really good as far as, topwaters. And one of my favorites for that time frame is just a popper. Megabass Pop Max here. I like a popper during that situation, because it seems like in that water temperatures in the 60s, you have a lot of bass that are in really shallow water, and a popper, you can work it very subtly across the surface and just barely move it. You can bloop, bloop, let it set for a long time. But the top waters that you can fish when the water's in the 60s that just set there and don't move, so this would be like a floating Rapala minnow, it could be like a bango lure or something like that. A prop bait, something that's got a little prop on the end, something you can just let that bait set there. And one of my favorite ways to fish it is just throw it out there. Elijah's riding his bike outside the garage here. Is throw it out there and twitch it a couple times, and then let all the ripples dissipate from the bait before you twitch it again. That works really, really good as far as when the water's in the 60s. Now, when the water starts to get above 70 degrees, like, upper 60s, around 70, this is when I'm going to the walking topwater. This walking topwater is going to be one of my top baits anytime that water temperature's, over 70 degrees. There's just something about it, they really like it, in a lot of different conditions. I mean, I've caught a lot of fish on a walking topwater in 2 foot of visibility or 10 foot of visibility. There's something about when the bass are in that early post-spawn, mode, they really like a walking topwater. So my springtime transition into this early season topwater is I start out with a buzzer, then I go to some type of a quiet bait on the surface that just sits there, and then I go to a walk in topwater. So this is going to take me from about March, April, and May. Those are going to be the 3 months for those 3 lures. And then the rest of the year, it's just sort of scattered a little bit, you know, depending upon, you know, the situation. To be honest with you guys, I don't fish a topwater much in the summertime. It's like you can catch fish on it, but there's other techniques that far outweigh that. My window for topwater fishing is usually late March, April, and May, and then again in like October and November. Those are the 5 months that I really like a topwater. It just seems like that's how you can catch them really good. But there's a lot of different topwaters out there, guys. You got so many. You got whopper ploppers. You got different type of, you know, different categories of topwaters. Just every lake's got one that's sort of unique to it. For example, here in the Ozarks where I live, a walking topwater is king. This is what we catch a lot of fish on. All you guys that fish back east, like those, say those TVA lakes, that type of stuff. Chugger's really good. You know, if you fish Florida, a little prop bait's really good. So there's regional, you know, favorites around the country, but that's sort of the rule of thumb I go by on my topwater fishing. So anyway, guys, I will link some of my favorite topwaters again in my Tackle Warehouse link. And if there's one piece of advice I can give you guys, try this Giant Dog X. This thing is a freaking killer topwater. Like I said, I've caught so many bass on it. The single best day of fishing I've ever had in my life is catching, as far as catching numbers of just a bunch of great quality fish, was on this Giant Dog X up at Lake Champlain back in 1999. I caught probably over 100 smallmouth up there between, you know, 2 to 5 pounds. It was unbelievable. So I'll put that link in the description. Really appreciate it. See y'all later.